What's happening, everybody? It's your man Dame D NYDC, two mics up, back with a brand new segment, King's Corner. We're gonna revamp this segment, and I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna talk about some things, man, from the past week that just kind of stood out to me. We deal with so many things in real time on a daily basis. I wanted to take a moment just to kind of reflect on what's happened over the past week. And this week, there were two things that kind of stood out. We could talk about the balloons from China that shot down. There's been the situation, I believe, in the Pennsylvania, Delaware area where the young white students at that college spray painted blackface on a young white woman and called her a slave and know her place, and a whole bunch of disturbing views that came out from that. But this week, I just wanted to talk about just how our country continues to just roll deeper into abyss and just fall backwards. And what I'm talking about is, we saw President Biden, during his speech or his State of the Union address. This thing has kind of become the norm, unfortunately, and it's like our democracy and the people who are running our country are some of the worst people when it comes to respecting the position of the president, which is supposed to be the highest honor, if you will, of leadership in this country. And it made me kind of draw back to this. Actually started about 14 years ago, when President Obama was president, and the South Carolina representative, I believe it was Joe Wilson, just stood up and yelled, "You lied," during his speech that he was delivering to Congress at the time. The level of decorum for that evening kind of, on both sides, they condemned it initially. Both sides condemned that outburst. And that was really directed towards, at the time, Obama was talking about that his healthcare plan would not apply to undocumented immigrants. After being booed by his colleagues and his cohorts, or co-members of Congress, Wilson issued an apology and expressed contrition, basically, to Obama's chief of staff. I bring that up because, like I said, 14 years later, the heckling, the booing, yelling at the president it seems like it's just become normal. Look, I don't care whether you like Biden or not. I don't care, how you feel about him as a president. But again, like I said at the top, during his State of the Union speech on I believe last Thursday, we had Republicans shouting at, the president, Joe Biden, on and off throughout his entire speech. And it started out like this was going to be something smooth. Seemed like the Democrats and Republicans would be, in one accord. They want us to believe that they can work together across aisles in one accord. But that changed when Biden jumped on the debt ceiling, and started accusing the Republicans of wanting to basically end or sunset, if you will, Social Security and Medicare. Biden's suggestions at the time just really led, to just a whole lot of back and forth. And what was her name? Texas Republican Beth Van Doon, I believe is her name. Just hollered out at him, man. It just started screaming and going back and forth, and it became such an intense back and forth that it was like, I hate to say it this way, but it was like the inmates at the asylum had taken over, and our Congress is supposed to be the highest level of of prominence, if you will, and decorum, and it's supposed to be there to legislate and speak in a manner on behalf of the people, uh, it makes me weary that if these are the people that are being elected to speak for me or for you, you should be worried. You should really be scared. The type of individuals now that are actually being selected and elected to represent you in office. And I wanted to just take a quick moment. I was on Instagram the other day, and I came across something that was really interesting to me. And this was no, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how I came across it. Don't know where I found it. But I want you to take a listen to this, and I'd be interested to hear or think. What are your views when you hear this?
And he said, "Dad, guess which is it? Is it NBA or NFL?" 36 have been accused of spousal abuse. 7 have been arrested for fraud. 19 have been accused of writing bad checks. 117 have directly or indirectly been bankrupted at least 2 businesses. 3 have done time for assault. 71, I repeat, 71 cannot get a credit card due to their bad credit. 14 have been arrested on drug-related charges. 8 have been arrested for shoplifting. 21 currently are defendants in lawsuits, and 84 have been arrested for drunk driving in the last year. How many of you think NBA? How many of you think NFL? Well, the answer is neither. It's the 435 members of the United States Congress.
So there you have it. This gentleman, shout out to No Negative Behavior for that post. I don't know how recent that was, or if it was this year or not, but that just tells you a lot. The comment that his son said, reading these numbers to him were, who would you think this is? The NBA players or the NFL players? Come to find out, it was neither. These are all people who represent us in Congress. So, go play that back and really think about it. And I'm bringing that up too because, we're coming into the next set of elections. Think about the people that you really want to represent you. Is this how you want to be seen and represented uh, in Congress? And then let's take it to a global stage. The world is watching. The world sees this. What kind of respect does the world have for the United States if this is what we're doing to our president? From those who are put in power by the people to represent the people. It's a scary thought. So just think about that. The other thing I wanted to talk about this year, this past week, we had the king. We had LeBron James, finally pass up Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the all-time leading scorer in the NBA. Shout out to King James, 38,300 and some odd points and counting. Probably by the time LeBron is done, we might be looking at 40 plus, 45,000 plus, because it seems like he's not slowing down at all. But, since we're talking about disrespect, and again, don't mean to be disrespectful to the king, but this is an ongoing, this has been and will always be an ongoing conversation. Who is the GOAT? Now that LeBron has surpassed Kareem and is the all-time leading scorer in the NBA, does that make him the GOAT? Does that just mean that, like it says, he scored the most points in the NBA, throughout his illustrious career? I've sat down with some friends and family, and we've talked about it. Who is the GOAT? And the GOAT is like anything else. Who's your top 5? Who's the top 5 rappers? Who's the top 5 singers? Who's the top 5 models? It's all subjective. And I just bring that up, because for me, LeBron James is definitely on the Mount Rushmore of NBA players who have dominated and brought something that we haven't seen before. But for me personally, I do not see LeBron as the GOAT or the greatest player of all times. And again, this is up for debate. I'm more of a and this is hard for me to say as a Knicks fan, Michael Jordan, by far, is the greatest player that I've seen in my lifetime actually play on the hardwood. Just the energy, the determination, the doggedness that Michael uh, portrayed, and his killer instinct was something that was so far above and beyond and so superior to any other player that I have seen and had seen. Well, first of all, had seen uh, at that time, and to this day have seen. Period. For me, you just have to put Michael at number one. Number two, before my time, way before my time, I really believe we have to put Bill Russell in that conversation. I mean, look, the man dominated in an era where it's not like today's NBA, but this man dominated on the defensive end. And think about going up against Wilt Chamberlain, who at the time was probably the most dominant force in it that the NBA had ever seen. Uh, Bill was able to, I don't want to say tame, but he was able to corral and challenge Wilt at the highest level. And he walked away, man, with all them rings, man. Boston was putting in work during that era. And for me, number three, I would then have to. I'm not gonna have to, but I would put LeBron at number three. Just from size, skill, basketball IQ, LeBron has brought something different that we haven't seen. That Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan is type, Larry Bird type for those who, our counterparts who like to say that, from a cerebral standpoint, Larry Bird was one of the best to understand the game. I would have to say the same about LeBron. And I think the only difference that, like I said, for me with LeBron, that the one separation is his doggedness, his demand of those around him to be where they need to be, play their position, play their role. And I'm not saying he doesn't do it because I don't know him on that level. I don't see him at practice or things like that. But what I see on the basketball court, his demeanor is totally different. And then too, it's a different age. I get all of these things play, but I think that's the one separation for me from the other two that LeBron has to fall in at number three. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Two mics up, King's Corner. Just a brief introductory. And it takes some time every week to run maybe a 10 or 15-minute segment just to kind of talk about some things that have passed over the prior week. Share my thoughts, share my views. Love to get your take, on the disrespect of Kings. Tell me how you feel about Biden. How do you feel about our Congress and where we're headed? Talk to me about LeBron. Tell me who's your GOAT. Give me your Mount Rushmore. Give me your top three that's sitting on your Mount Rushmore of basketball. Look forward to seeing you all again next week. Hope you all enjoy the segment. And like we always do, as we close out, ladies and gentlemen, going to hope that you stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out.
007.